Welcome to Primetime Mitch, and we are heading back down memory lane again because it is Class 6. Don't need the black and white filter on this one because we are in colour and we are looking at 1959's Alfred Hitchcock directed North by Northwest. This movie was described as culturally, historically and aesthetically significant, and according to the New York Times, a comedic, sophisticated self-parody. Now, I'm in the understanding that this movie was concocted during a period of writer's block for Hitchcock, especially considering he was sitting on the idea of a story called The Man in Lincoln's Nose, which obviously has a significance to the end of the movie. Cary Grant and Eva Marie Saint play the lead roles in this. Cary Grant, one of his later films actually, was apparently baffled by the script, and throughout most of this movie he was saying that this doesn't make any sense, I can't make head nor tail of this, it's absolute nonsense. Not bad preparation for a character that really doesn't have a frigging clue what's going on. As ever guys, there are spoilers in this video. If you have not seen North by Northwest, I have a nice little DVD copy here I watch every once in a while. I really enjoy this movie. If you can pick it up, there are links below for where to buy this movie, so if you really want to buy this movie and watch it, please do. If you haven't seen it, do that, then come back and watch this review. Thank you in advance, and as ever, please hit that subscribe button and that notification bell below to get more updates on videos coming up in the future on Primetime Mitch. That like, share, comment option is always there. I really appreciate all the subscriptions I have had in the last few days following the Arachnophobia watch along, and Primetime Mitch is going from strength to strength, and it is thanks to your views, comments, shares, likes and support. Now, it is confusing, but it's deliberately confusing. It's a slow burning unraveling of what's actually going on. So I'm going to try and simplify it now just so I can set myself up to talk about it. Roger Thornhill is a sales executive. He gets mistaken for George Kaplan after a misunderstanding with the waiters and two very well dressed thugs who have come to collect him. He is taken to the estate of Lester Townsend, a United Nations diplomat who is not Lester Townsend at all but Philip Van Damme posing as him. Enter James Mason. Philip Van Damme is a foreign spy who upon interrogation wants Thornhill out of the picture. Who is Kaplan? Well, we'll find out in the review, but that's the first bit all sold up, hopefully. First thing I'm noticing about this is Thornhill is such an advertising executive. You can tell he works in that line of work. He is all business. He is direct to the point with his PA. He has a very stern, serious face, Cary Grant, and I can understand why he was cast. Although, apparently, up until a certain point, Jimmy Stewart thought he had this role. Hitchcock had been speaking to him about this, and Stewart apparently assumed that the role would be given to him. Now, I may be wrong about this. Please leave it in the comments if you can. I can't research absolutely everything, but please tell me if that was the case. Was James Stewart expecting this role? Because I am under the understanding that Hitchcock waited until Stewart was committed to another role before beginning shooting with this one. So yeah, please let me know on that one. It would have fit Jimmy Stewart, I think, but Cary Grant's expressions, he's sort of almost very deadpan and very stern-faced. I think you just suited this role better, but that's just me. There's some lovely car scenes at the start of this with the rear projection. I always find those fascinating in these older movies, just seeing them develop in their editing and effects skills. I'm also a big fan of a zoom, and there's a great zoom on the two thugs as they pick up Thornhill from the restaurant. You can always tell there's something not right about all this. So Thornhill, Kaplan, they're one and the same. I'm probably going to go with Thornhill because he's not Kaplan. That makes sense. So Van Damme's tried to have him killed and made it look like a drunk driving accident. So they plough him with whiskey and they put him in the car and they send him down the hill. Unfortunately, this does not go to plan. What I will say, if you want to lose your would-be killers, get arrested, because that's what happens. And Cary Grant here plays a fantastic drunk. I believed it. He was so disorientated. Some of the stuff he was coming out was very funny as well. And yeah, I just really like this scene at the station. I like how accurate that is, and I could probably relate to it in some instances. He can't convince the police, obviously, because it's so ridiculous. I mean, sometimes I get annoyed in movies when people aren't believed when they have a situation they're trying to get out of, but this one is understandable. It's just so ludicrous. Enter Jessie Royce Landis as his mother, a very young mother, I must say. Again, in the comments, if you can tell me, if I can recall, she claimed to be a year younger than Cary Grant. It was not strictly true. She was slightly older, but either way, she was far too young to be his mother. And ironically, she behaves more like a friend or an acquaintance. She'd be a lousy friend if she was a friend, because she is so incredulous. She's no bloody help whatsoever. She's no support to him, and thoroughly deserves the fantastic line,
I'm not nervous. I'll be late for the bridge club.
Good. You'll lose less than usual.
I almost applauded it when he said it. So this is a point where I'm going, well, where the hell is this George Kaplan? Who is he? Who is he supposed to be? And why is he of interest in a negative way to these foreign spies? What is he trying to uncover? You get that answer pretty quickly. You know, the United States Intelligence Agency realise what's happened and the mistake that's been made, and we find out that Kaplan is not just an agent, but a non-existent agent. He's been created as a decoy to distract Van Damme. The terrible thing is that the governing bodies sort of go, well, let's just leave it for now, let's see how it goes. And unfortunately, that means that Thornhill is completely disposable to them. It's very ruthless, but I guess that's the way things work. Upon visiting Kaplan's hotel room, he realises what's going on, and he actually takes it upon himself to go and meet Lester Townsend, the diplomat, to tell him what's going on, to tell him that Van Damme is in his house and posing as him. Before he can get anything out of him, boom.
Do you know this man?
Knife in the back. It's a fantastic shot of the knife throw. It is so immediate. You do not see the throw initially. You just see the reaction and him collapse into Thornhill's arms. It's a fantastic shock, almost a jump scare. It's that good. It's all about the facial expression, and then you suddenly realise what's happened. Unfortunately, he collapses right into Thornhill's arms. So, of course, that's the picture that's taken by the press, and now he's a wanted man. Thornhill heads off to the train station, sporting a tremendously concocted disguise in a pair of sunglasses, and obviously he's wanted at this point. So the ticketeer absolutely telegraphs it, leaves him on his own. You can tell that he's been spotted, so he heads aboard the Chicago train without a ticket. Now this is where we bring in Eva Marie Saint. Saint's role that shot her to prominence was in On the Waterfront opposite Marlon Brando, and she was very much a girl next door, supremely innocent. In this, she is extremely glamorous. She is almost Audrey Hepburn-like. Her name is Eve Kendall, we find out. I'm already skeptical because she hides Thornhill from the police. She's only just met the guy. For all she knows, he could be a murderer. He could be an extreme danger to her, but she decides to hide him from the police. I found that very strange, very suspicious, and I thought she's got to be part of this. As soon as I saw her do that, I'd made my mind up about her. They get to know one another on the train, and Thornhill makes the comment, "What do you do besides luring men to their doom?" Somewhat of a deliberate foreshadowing. And we get a bit of chemistry between the two, but obviously I've got it in the back of my mind that I think there's something wrong here. I think she is sinister, and we find that out later on. She has her fun and then essentially sends him off to die. A very cold thing to do. But of course, in the back of your mind, you're wondering, did she like him? Does she really like him? Does she really want to be in this position where she is aiding and abetting Van Damme and his gang? Maybe there's some guilt there, who knows? But we do end up with this great scene where Thornhill is trying to stay away from the authorities. He is in the bathroom at the train station, and he is using this tiny little razor to have a shave that he's picked off the sink in Eve's room. It's just a nice little bit of humour thrown in. That's what gives these films character. So then the famous scene. Now this scene is particularly great when you watch the movie and not just the scene on its own, because you have been stuck in this cramped train cabin and these small corridors, and suddenly it opens out into this huge cornfield, and there is no music involved in all of this. It is very silent and very ominous. Thornhill is distracted by several cars coming past. It's not just one or two, there's like 3 or 4 coming past. It's almost like each one could be a problem to him, but you just don't know what to expect. It's so well shot. There's a glimpse of a plane, and only that, and you forget about it because of the amount of cars. You're focusing on the road. You're even distracted by another guy that's dropped off at the other side of the road. You don't think about the threat from the air. Why would you? There's a lot of perspective shots used in this. As Hitchcock's mentioned before, it's not about the lighting, sometimes it's just about the apprehension. It's a fantastic scene, and it's one of those scenes I kind of watch on its own sometimes just to appreciate the cuts and the general filmmaking behind it. The idea of causing that tension and that dread and that wonder even before the plane has descended. You've also got a wonderful long shot of the collision with the truck. This was all terrific filmmaking that I think still holds up today. Then we got my second favourite scene in the movie, the auction. Now he's caught up with Eve and he's come out with that great line.
Who are you kidding? You have no feelings to hurt.
Which is exactly what I was thinking the whole time. But you get the feeling there is some feelings in there. There is some guilt in there. Maybe there was something between them on that train. Thornhill, who is supposed to be George Kaplan, who is supposed to be a distraction, then uses some distraction tactics of his own by shouting out ludicrous bids in the auction and disrupting it completely. He absolutely pisses everybody off in that audience, including the auctioneer.
$13.
You mean 1,300, sir?
No, I mean $13. That's more than it's worth.
It is a wonderful scene. It really had me chuckling. And the fact he's using distraction techniques as well, ironically, is something that Hitchcock is very good at. You can tell this movie seems to follow a pattern, even if the story is very, very complex. But again, he gets himself out of a situation by hiding behind the police. That's twice in the movie he's done that as well. The professor from the United States Intelligence Agency comes to collect him to make sure that he's not reprimanded as a fugitive. And he obviously takes Thornhill through what has happened. And we don't need to hear that dialogue. We already know now. So there's this great scene of him walking and talking, but with the noise of the aircrafts in the background just to drown out any repetition that wasn't needed in that scene. He can work with the intelligence agency because he has the gift of the gab. He's an advertising agent, almost like a sales executive. He knows how to put on an act. He knows how to say things that people need to hear. So he is able to negotiate with Van Damme over at the Mount Rushmore Visitor Centre nearby Van Damme's house. Leo Gratton Carroll playing the professor. He is an Alfred Hitchcock veteran, appearing in several of his movies prior to this. He is very casual about how he goes about his business in this movie. He tells him this story and how it's all business. And again, I said that Roger Thornhill is very much like that at the beginning, so even though he's had his last few days ruined, I imagine he can relate to how this situation is being relayed back to him. He's not kicking off and he's not getting angry about it. He's not getting aggressive about it, because I think in a lot of modern day movies now, when somebody has been caught up in a situation that's the fault of others, there's this tendency to fly into a rage. He doesn't do that. Thornhill is very much, how can I help this situation and eventually leave it. It's quite a shock when Kendall shoots Thornhill, but then obviously we find out that she has protected him by shooting him with blanks, and things start to unravel then. We start finding out about the sculpture containing microfilm. This is why the intelligence agency have been tracking Van Damme. It's nice to see Martin Landau playing Van Damme's associate Leonard, who realizes that the gun was filled with blanks, and suddenly now Eve Kendall is in their firing line. They're going to get rid of her out of the plane when they leave. We get some lovely rear window like shots in this scene when Thornhill is watching from a distance, looking through the windows and trying to find a way to get to Eve. And then the big climax on Mount Rushmore. To me, I've got a fear of them, but this all gets very Vertigo from here. We see the influence of other Hitchcock movies before now, and it is quite a dramatic conclusion. It is filled with tension. There is that one step away from disaster feel, and it is quite a satisfactory conclusion as well. There's some really, really nice, ahead of the time, brave shots on Mount Rushmore during that final confrontation, and it's a really good way to finish the movie, and there's a really strong transition from the mountainside to the final scene between Thornhill and Kendall. And I've got to say, when I watched this movie, I felt like it was a real masterpiece from the start. I still think that now. The cast is superb. James Mason plays the sinister villain very, very well. He has the voice for it. The fact, like I said, that Cary Grant was confused by the script made for an ideal performance. And it was nice to see Eva Marie Saint get such a huge role, which she thrived in. Visually, it's wonderful. Some of the ideas are executed perfectly. The crop dusting scene will forever be one of my favourite scenes. The auction scene will be one of my favourite old school classic comedy moments. But overall, it was #1 film at the box office for 7 weeks, I believe, and within a month it had made over 2 million, which I believe like round about 27 million or something in this day and age. It's critically acclaimed as being visually iconic. It is certainly a suspenseful movie, and one that we've come to expect from Hitchcock. And considering Cary Grant thought it would flop because of his lack of understanding of the concept and the plot, I think it did pretty well for itself. It is still one of my favourite classic movies. I've really enjoyed looking back on it over classics. It was nominated for 3 Academy Awards, but didn't actually win any. It was up against Ben-Hur that year. Over time, this has maintained a high rating, and it's pretty much an annual watch for me. If you are the same as me and you really love this movie, and there's facts and trivia and observations you want to give me about this movie, please drop them in the comments below. Tell me what your experience of North by Northwest is, what your opinions are, because at the end of the day, this is all for you. I love taking trips down memory lane, so I can't wait to do the next Class 6. I don't know what it will be, but I will certainly have a huge list to choose from. If you've enjoyed this video today, please don't hesitate to hit that subscribe button and add to my following the notification bell to tell you when the next video is coming along. You will know what is on when it hits. Throw some likes in there, some comments below. Please share this video if you know somebody that likes this movie as well and likes their classic films. I'm an average movie lover, so I don't have all the answers, but maybe you do to anything that I haven't mentioned today. Thank you so much, guys. This has been Primetime Mitch. This has been Class 6. Class dismissed.